Hello and welcome back. Today I just want to briefly talk about 3 things. 1, I have a question for writers. 2, indie books that I read this month. And 3, where I am in my first draft. So my question for writers is, when life hits you hard, what do you do to get back into your world, your make-believe world that you're writing? 2 weeks ago, I had started a writing vlog for the week. Last week, Monday, I was planning on editing it, but that was also to include recording an outro, summing everything up. But then I was hit with some really terrible news, and trying to film it was just impossible. Everything book related seemed kinda stupid, silly. Without getting into details, this is just one of the worst news I could have all year. So trying to record a video seemed silly. Telling myself that I needed to finish reading a book seemed ridiculous. It seemed very unimportant. Thinking of the events of the last year was clouding my ability to write. Since the start of my first draft, I had been continuously trying to keep myself in the world of my story, and I feel like it was going okay until, getting a dose of reality, having this terrible news kind of bring me back down to earth, and it just sort of changed my whole approach to thinking about my story. If you have seen a previous video where I talk about some stuff about my own book, Hoku Aizao Means I Love You, I believe that I have mentioned something about one of the short stories, A Distant Neighbor, that it was supposed to be a love story. And then I got into a dark mindset, and then the story turned into a depressing one, and then I sort of had to quit it as a full-length novel because it wasn't going where I intended it to go, and I am kind of scared it's going to happen again with this story. So I am genuinely asking writers, how do you continue on? How do you get back into your world you're creating? How do you get back into the lives you're creating when reality is trying to keep your head out of the clouds? Does that make sense? So the next thing I want to talk about, I just want to quickly go over 2 indie books that I read this month. So the first one I picked up this month was Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. I have not heard about this author until I had started actively searching for independent authors, but I'm getting the sense that she is pretty well known in the indie world. if you haven't heard about this book, because I do see this book a lot on, at the very least on Instagram. This is about a boy who had been abducted when he was very young. He managed to get free when he was well into adulthood. He reconnects with his brother and his childhood friend, Sydney. They try to help him navigate a new world he is not familiar with, and in the process, he finds romance. I know it says it's a love story right up here, but for some reason I was thinking more Lifetime drama. Yeah, I'm getting the Lifetime vibes. Nothing against Lifetime. I love having Lifetime movies up just for noise in the house. I thought the premise was very nice. I don't know if I could say cute because, considering the tragedy of the boy having lost decades with, his friends, family, the world. But yeah, I could see how Jennifer Hartman is popular in the indie world as a very good romance writer. It didn't touch up too much on him learning technology or finding, how to find success without having finished school. It is a little bit, but not as much as I was expecting, considering how long he had been abducted for. But yeah, I'm not a big romance reader, so it took me a while to get used to the thought that this is more about the romance and the relationships that he's trying to rebuild. I had to kind of shift my brain into grasping more of that. But overall, it was really good, and I have suggested my friends to read it, the ones who I wasn't spoiling things for, but it's okay because they're the ones who don't really read too much, but they enjoyed the updates. Okay, so the second indie book that I read this month is The Mom Group by Jennifer A. Jones, and this is another one that I also found on Instagram. The Mom Group immediately caught my attention. For one, I am a mom. For two, I am a stay-at-home mom, have been for a little over a decade. And the title of housewife is also included in this book, of which I also am. The title appealed to me a lot. The blurb appealed to me a lot as well. Erica Thompson is a housewife who lives a lonely life despite having a full family, a husband, and 2 college kids. She doesn't have any friends, doesn't really socialize, and spends most of her time with her dog. When she realizes how lonely she is, she decides to join a local mom group, a group for moms to share and ask for advice, exchange stories, and, meet up once in a while. I relate to that summary a lot. I've tried to join groups for those exact reasons. My husband's in the military, my family is not out here, and we had gotten married not long after I graduated. Maybe when I was 19 is when we got married, yeah, so just about a year after I graduated high school. So, and also coming out of high school, it was not a great experience, So I had a whole lot of insecurities, and I took that with me off of the island, away from home, and I sort of kept myself secluded, and I got very used to being content with myself. I wasn't always by myself. There were people here and there, but nobody that I really was able to grow with as close friends. So this is what she is going through. She joins a mom group, she makes a couple of comments, and the reaction from a few of the members were not positive ones. She kind of decides to get some revenge. And the revenge isn't what I was expecting it to be. I think mainly because I was so set in my own horror thriller story that I'm writing that I automatically went to murder or terrorizing or, something a bit darker. But the way it is approached in here is more realistic, which I suppose did create a better reading experience for me, personally. So far I've read 3 indie books this year. I do plan on reading more. I have like a whole long list of indie books that I have in my Amazon wish list, but I also cannot forget about the books that I already have here that are waiting to get some love and attention. I think my next book I'll be picking up is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I feel like probably in the month of March, that's probably going to be the only book that I read, because I have a lot of catching up to do for my own book, which brings me to my third topic of where I am currently in my first draft. And because of the recent terrible news that I had got last week, I pretty much had not written anything. In fact, yesterday was the first time in 7 or 8 days that I had written anything, and I managed to write maybe a couple of pages. Okay, so let me talk about my writing goal that I had for this year. I wanted to try really hard to finish draft 1 by the end of March. Okay. I am only like 48 pages in. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's probably not good. I'm 48 pages in. I have exactly 1 month. I had January to chapter plot, and then I had February and March to complete a first draft, and then I have the next 2 months, so April, May, to complete a second draft. And for June and July, I would like to kind of sit in the new draft and just kind of reread everything. I don't know if I'm going to do beta readers. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do beta readers, but I am going to try and give out advanced copies. So that's where I'm at, seeking advice on how to get back into a writing flow when you've gotten sucked out of your world. Read a couple of good indie books this month. Plan to read more for sure. And 48 pages in with 1 month to complete this first draft. I don't know. Last week was a hard week. I feel like I'm still trying to recover from it and kind of just drag myself to the finish line with this draft. Anyway, that's it for today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.